Would you like to live a more awesome life? Join hypnotist Jim Kellner as he explores tips, tricks, and strategies to help you and he live a more awesome life right now on Exploring Awesome.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Exploring Awesome. I am your host, Jim Kellner. Behind the scenes right now, backstage, we have today's guest. Of course, here on Exploring Awesome, we always explore tips, tricks, and strategies to help you and me to live a more awesome life. Would you like to live a more awesome life? Who wouldn't? Would you like to get some awesome tips from a guy who's a certified hypnotist? He's also has degrees in philosophy, classical languages, literature, and spirituality. He's been working with people for 20 years, helping them to get stuck, moving them toward the life they want. In 2020, he was certified as a hypnotist by Mike Mandel. Those of us in the industry know Mike Mandel is one of the top trainers, hypnotists in the world. Joshua is also the founder of Inspiring Hypnosis and is a nationally known motivational speaker and author. He's written over 10 books, including A Cure for Heartburn, the guide to getting what your heart truly desires. And with that, let's bring him on. Joshua Wagner. Hello. Good morning. Good day.
Hey, Jim. How you doing? It's great to see you.
I am doing fantastic. Thanks so much for joining me. I found out about Joshua through TikTok, really. Just started following him on TikTok. He's another hypnotist. And Joshua, you're killing it over there. And by that, I mean, you're putting out really awesome content in bite-sized chunks, and you have a huge following. So congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. TikTok has been just really great to me, more than any other social network has been.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so his handle over there is at Inspiring Hypnosis. That's at Inspiring Hypnosis. So go check that out. I'm also going to type it in the chat. How did you get onto TikTok in the first?
It's right here too on your screen.
Oh, is it? Oh, it is.
Yeah,
okay, good.
It's already on the screen. So there you go.
There it
Made
is.
it easy
Excellent.
for you. Yeah.
Take a look at the screen, people. I won't, but you should. So it's right there. Yeah, check out his website too. He's got a lot of great content over there, some freebies and everything. Also on his website, he's got some great pictures. We might go over those in a little bit. How? Because you're not no offense, but you're not a pretty young teenager doing dances. What drew you to getting on TikTok?
In fact, the first account I had on TikTok, I just did dances, and it was banned within a week. So yeah, I don't know what the problem was. I thought I was doing the dances right, but I guess they don't want to see a 45-year-old guy doing yada 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 stuff. So I don't know. But they don't. Luckily, they didn't join they didn't figure out that I was the new account. So
Right.
honestly, I got on TikTok. I've been in marketing for a long time. I have a kind of a marketing background, and I did very well on Facebook when Facebook was kind of. You could still do well on Facebook, but I got onto TikTok in 2018 as just an observer, and I realized very quickly I couldn't stop watching it. I actually had to take it off my phone on multiple occasions back in 2018 because I could not stop watching it. And so I kind of got in there early. It was before the pandemic, and I got in there early, and I'm like, gosh, this is addictive. But I didn't really have a use. I wasn't really making a lot of content or doing a lot of things. I was in a huge transition in my life at that point. So I was just more of a consumer than I was a creator. And so this is what I used it to. I said the only time I'm allowed to watch TikTok is on the elliptical machine.
Oh,
so I used the dopamine that I got from TikTok to get me onto the elliptical. So it worked really nicely. I lost like 800 pounds that year. So anyway, just by watching TikToks on the elliptical machine. So
1 minute at a time.
yeah, exactly. I mean, it's literally like I'll just do 5 minutes and watch TikTok, and then like 44 hours later, I'm still I've gone 800 miles. And so fast forward, I became a hypnotist, as you mentioned, in 20, and I needed to find a venue to start finding clients, and I was getting plenty of clients locally, getting them through Facebook, but I remember the potential of this TikTok, and at the time it was just exploding. It's still exploding, but I don't think that, and if you get in the game now, it's still fine. But back then you could get a video that went 30, 40,000 in a few days. Like, it was amazing. Wow. The reach that you got. Now they're limiting their organic reach a little bit these days, but I got on there. I watched a couple YouTubes about how it works, and I started punching out the content in March of 2021. And like, I was doing 3 a day, 3 posts a day. I did that every day. I was pre-filming all this kind of jazz. And within a month, I think I had 10,000 followers.
Wow.
And so it just has the potential for all that reach. I have about 53,000 followers as we broadcast this. And so I'm not in a growth mode anymore. I stopped doing growth mode because I switched over to just like, how many people do I need on TikTok? Like, I'm never going to see more than 50,000. So I'm in a maintenance mode. I still post every day. I'm still growing slowly, but I'm growing, but not like in those exponential numbers. And now what I'm doing is I'm converting all those folks over into clients. And that's the main source of my income is TikTok. Oddly enough, it's TikTok.
Wow.
And not the way I thought, not being the dancer.
Right.
Again, TikTok said no. You know, my mom said no.
Yeah.
The judge told me definitely not. He told me I'm not even allowed to do it in public or in private anymore. So I don't know what that's about. But so I make most of my income on TikTok. I meet most of my clients there, about 95%.
And isn't that interesting? You know, it's funny because I think it's probably changing now, but I know when it first came out, you know, when people first started noticing it, like during the pandemic, people really associated with just, you know, teenage girls dancing around and stuff. But what I quickly discovered was that I quit seeing dancing girls after just a few weeks because it's based on what you like and what you watch. So if you're one of those people out there complaining that's all it is, that's because that's what you're watching. So
I almost never see the dancing girls anymore. So I mean, myself. Neither. So because it knows who you, it measures how long you watch videos. It's not even about who you like and what you are commenting on it. Those things do matter, but what they really care is watch time. So if you are watching the dancing girl 7 times over, it's going to show you more dancing girls. If you're watching the Tony Robbins thing 7 times over, it's going to show you more Tony Robbins. It's really knows. It's very intuitive about how it shows you videos,
right?
And how it kicks off that dopamine. Because I don't know if you know this, the way that TikTok really works is the same way as a slot machine. So a slot machine will give you lose. It's called intermittent rewards, and then you win. And so what TikTok does is it'll show you a video that it knows you love, and then it will show you the next 3 videos that it knows you're not going to care about. And then after the 4th or 5th video that you don't care about, it shows you one that you really care about. And you're like, dopamine. And that's how it keeps you on there. It's because it's like you get that hit and then it goes away and you don't know when the next hit's coming, just like a slot machine. And that's why it works so well.
You know, I have heard about that with a gambling theory, but I didn't recognize that with TikTok. And it's funny you mentioned that because even just last night, I'm going, why am I seeing this crap? And I'm hit, and then all of a sudden, I'm going, oh, this is interesting. I want to watch this. So, you know, that algorithm, boy, it really does a good job of keeping us sucked in. And like you said, I mean, I've had times where I've had to take it off my phone or make the deal too. You know, I have to go for a walk and I'll be walking and I'll be looking at it or those kind of things, because it's those short little 1-minute bites that are just such an addictive type thing.
Well, and Mike, I've tried all sorts of types of, because they allow 10-minute videos now. That's another change. Right. It changes every day, but like I still like the 6 or 7 second content. That's where I found most of my success. I have to retool it about every 2 months or 3 months because the format gets stale, and I've just found that long form videos just aren't doing it for me there. But I'm really making a lot of success with short form videos. Nothing like I was. Like I said, I was getting somewhere. I had 200,000-300,000 views on a couple of my early videos. Now that TikTok is flooded with people, you don't get that as much anymore. But the analogy that I like to think of is I get about an average of anywhere from 500 to 2,500 views on a video. That's my average, which doesn't like, oh my gosh, how are you making a living on 2,500 views? It's like if 2,500 people came into my store a day, right. I would be a millionaire. Right. So no kidding. I'm converting those people over that are coming through.
Yeah. It's not about the monetization on the platform. No. It's about you converting them to clients, helping them,
converting them over,
and giving them more value, really, because you can only do so much in 6-7 seconds. So that's really making the transformations happening. Absolutely. And I don't want to beat TikTok to death, but I just want to mention one more thing about this. I mean, and of course you can follow up with something, but it's one of the reasons that I'm, when I'm teaching students, hypnosis entrepreneurs, is that you need to get out there on these new platforms, even if you think they're stupid, if you think they're dumb, they're not for you, and just try them out, because you never know what's going to blow up. Who thought that TikTok was going to blow up like this? And the other important thing is, I always say, go get your name, your business name, something as the handle, even if you're never going to use this thing again. And fortunately, right. I did that right away when I heard about TikTok. I right away got it, because I'll tell you, Joshua, it's so irritating. By the time I made it to Instagram, a comic with the name Jim Kellner had already gotten at Jim Kellner. So I've got this long line of at Jim Kellner, and then it's Kellner Jim. It's maddening.
No, I know. I jumped on all that. I had a brand once upon a time 10 years ago that I started, and I jumped on all this. I got all the social media stuff, and TikTok is not the only place. Like, I met a guy last year. I went to a Facebook conference 2 years in 2019, so it's been a couple of years. But I met a guy there who makes all of his money on Bing. He does advertising on Bing, and makes all of his money because it's a very small pond, and not a lot of people are advertising. So a lot of people use Bing. A lot of people think Google's the king, but honestly, really? he's like, I get 10 times more ROI on a Bing ad than I do on a Google ad, because nobody's over on Bing. The competition on Google's huge. Right. The competition on Bing is non-existent. Wow. And this was the guy. This is what he did for a living. He was an SEO guy. He says, I tell all my clients, go to Bing, not Google.
Wow.
I don't advertise on Bing, but my point is that I don't advertise at all, because I do all my stuff organically. Well, my point is that don't underestimate these small platforms. Now, Bing's not exactly a platform, but you know what I mean,
right?
Like Pinterest. Yeah. Like, I know people that make millions of dollars on Pinterest.
I've heard that. A lot of people on Pinterest making money. Yeah,
a lot of people on Pinterest making money.
Yeah. I just want to apologize to you and to the people at home. Had some issues here, and I didn't notice that we were actually saying Exploring Awesome with the previous guest instead of Joshua. So that's fixed now on the ticker. So sorry about that.
There's my name.
This is not Nathan. It's Joshua. Looks like we've got a few viewers. If you're out there and you want to say hi, Scott King actually says, I don't know what this guy's weird. Nope, not that. Never mind. Get
him out of there.
I don't know what the hell this is about. I don't know how to. Unfortunately, never mind. It doesn't show up. It doesn't show up for us anywhere. I don't know. Anyway, you never know what you're going to get on these damn comments. So
right.
Anyway, Scott King, good friend of mine. Scott King, good to see you. It's an algorithm.
I know Scott.
Like that. Yeah. Oh, good. Yeah. Will reveal more than those people think. It's an algorithm. Comments like that. I don't know if he's commenting on the previous comment or something like that.
Yeah, that's actually been up there for a bit. He was talking about when I was saying how TikTok knows what you watch. It's the comments, it's the watch time, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Right. So, Scott, can you, and I had no idea you were 45. I mean, you've probably been told this, you've got kind of a baby face, right? I mean, you look like your mid-20s. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
No idea. Yeah.
I sleep in one of those chambers at night to keep me.
Exactly. Joshua, can you just talk to us about your hero's journey? Where did you come from? How did you get to where you're at right now?
Well, I actually spent most of my career as a Catholic priest, actually. So I was in the priesthood for 15 years. I went into the seminary when I was 18. Did 4 years in the seminary here in Columbus, where I'm at, and then 4 years in Rome, Italy. So I actually lived in the Vatican for 4 years. And so it was great. I went to the nicest suburb of Columbus. I ran into some troubles after about 2 years. I had a little bit of a faith crisis, and I left the priesthood in 2007, wisely, just before a giant recession happened. And I had nothing that I could do. I didn't know what to do with myself. Like I had all those degrees you read off. What is it? Philosophy, literature, classics, theology, spirituality. Yeah. That's not a S&P 500 company. It's not going to hire me for that stuff. So
right.
I spent that year off. Luckily, the housing market was junk that year, so I had a house for free that somebody gave me. And I ended up coming. I didn't know what to do, and at the end of a year, I went back to the bishop and I said, "Hey, can I come back?" And he let me back because I was good at what I did. I mean, I'm not saying that I have any hubris. People liked me. I was a popular person. I was good. I was good at what I was very good at that. The faith crisis never really resolved. And I don't really say too much more than that. The faith crisis never really resolved. And I was in the priesthood for another 10 years. I spent most of my time as a priest in the inner city of Columbus. I was pastor of 2 predominantly Black churches. Which is, I haven't, if you Google my name, there's an article about being a white pastor in 2 Black churches, which is, about a 12-year-old article now, but it was great. I loved being with those folks. It was so fantastic. I'm still friends with a lot of them today. It was fantastic. We had gospel music. I ran 2 soup kitchens. I had a GED learning center. I renovated 2 beautiful churches. I had the best parishioners in the whole world. Learned a lot because, I grew up on a farm in Lima, Ohio, and now I'm working in the inner city with predominantly African-American folks of all strata, from the people we served in the soup kitchen to people that were vice presidents or presidents of banks. So, I mean, it was all the strata from the highest economical level to the lowest. And I loved them all. They were all great. But there was something, like I said, the faith thing never really resolved. And so in 2018, after some things, a friend of mine passed away who was a priest, I thought, gosh, I really don't know. I really don't know if I'm supposed to do this. I was unhappy. I was unhealthy, just physically. And then mentally, I was kind of getting depressed and worse. And so I left in late 2018. So it's been almost 4 years now since I left, just a little shy of 4 years. And during that interim period, between 2008 and 2018, when I left, I developed all these marketing skills. I had side businesses as a priest. I had a tour guiding company. I had a tour guiding business called the Catholic Church Tour, CatholicChurchTour.com. I put people on buses and I drove them all around Ohio, showing them churches. That was a great business. I had a motivational speaking business that took me across the country. I had a website that was generating some money. So I learned how to do marketing. And then when I got out in 18, I ended up taking a marketing job with the Ohio Council for Home Care and Hospice. And I was in that job, but it was fine, but I wasn't happy being a marketing guy. Like, I knew I wanted to get back and working with people. And after a year out of the priesthood, I kind of got into this, I got into this horrible place. And I was like, I don't know what I want to do with myself. Like, I wasn't making the money I wanted to make. I wasn't helping people. I was making websites and stuff, which is fine. But so I found this hypnotist named Tyler on a Facebook ad. Oh. And I joined his little $7 a month group, and I met him, and he's like, why don't we have a call? And so I took his free call. And at the end, he's like, it'll be this amount. He charged me a lot of money. I'm not going to lie. He charged me a lot of money. I had $11 left in my bank account when I paid him, and I paid him in full. And I had one session with him, and that one session changed my entire life. Wow. Within 3 or 4 days of that session, now this is not typical, so I don't want to say this is typical. Within 3 or 4 days of that, I had a side business that instantly made $3,000. Why did it make $3,000? Because I went into the calls differently. I had a different mentality. I had a different focus. I had a different feeling
all the time.
That I had from this one hypnosis session. I'm like, wow. So I had this business called Healing from Shame, which I was going to do a lot of work with, like shame and guilt, which is something I had in the priesthood, and I was kind of translating it over to being out here. Yeah,
kind of an expert on that, right? Yeah.
I used to have a joke. I used to have a joke when I was a priest. I would say I took shame in seminary, but I only got a B. But I made the professor feel really bad about it. So I did okay. That was
so as a priest, you could sell them the shame, and then you could sell them the cure for it.
Brilliant, right? Brilliant. So I wasn't really passionate about it because it was like kind of a leftover thing from being a priest. And so when I went to, I instantly made the money. I instantly felt better, like within 3 or 4 days. And I was like, there's something to this hypnosis. Yeah. So within a couple of months, the pandemic hit within a couple of months. So we were all sitting around doing nothing, and I was working from home, and I like everybody else was. And I researched a couple people. I looked at Igor Ledikoski. I looked at Mike Mandel, and I ended up picking Mike just because at the time I think he was more affordable. Frankly, I think he had some kind of special going on, and so I did that, and spent the next 6 to 8 months, getting certified and doing all that stuff, and started my business in late 2020, and it's been nonstop. Nice. There, in
Nice.
fact, some days I wish I had fewer people to work with, because just so many people are coming my way, even right now. So I have a full deck all the time of clients. I'm just really grateful because, as you know, Jim, one of the benefits of being a hypnotist is we get to watch miracles happen. And I will say this, and this is nothing, this is not a light statement I'm making. I've seen more miracles working in hypnosis than I did working as a priest. Now, that is not to say miracles don't happen in the church, but what I will say is I've watched people transform literally in front of me. You can see it in their face, and then they come back in a week and they say, I don't know what you did, but my whole life is different. And it's amazing to see.
Yeah. You know what I love too, you know, and of course there's, you know, and like you said, the results are not typical. Not everybody has that kind of experience, but it happens enough that you go, yeah, like you said, wow, this stuff works. It's amazing. Right.
Yeah.
I'm reminded of I met a guy at a party one time, and he's one of these people, he's a nice guy, and he was very analytical, and he goes, you know, I really wish I could do hypnosis, but I'm just too smart for that. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I started talking to him, and by the end, he hired me to come and work with his sales team. And it was one of those miraculous things. I mean, I worked with 5 guys, and their sales just went up. I mean, astronomically. It was within just a short amount of time, within a week or two, things are already just happening, and they're just amazed. So it really is just such an incredible tool, really.
It is amazing. And I love, by the way, those people that tell me they can't be hypnotized. I do have a short story with this. I had a guy tell me he couldn't be hypnotized, and I offer free sessions. Everybody, and if folks are listening, you go to Inspiring Hypnosis at the top. There's a thing for a free session, and it's not a sales call. I literally do work with you. And if I can get you done in one session, then I do. And if you want more sessions, then we talk about that. And sometimes I get people done in one session. Sometimes it takes 2 sessions or 3. Yeah. Most people get done very quickly, as you know, Jim. Well, I had a guy, he's like, well, you can't hypnotize. He was on TikTok. You can't hypnotize me. I can't be hypnotized. So I said, come for a free session. Let's see. Half an hour. He talked. And all of a sudden he said something about his childhood. He says, and that reminds me of my childhood when blah, blah, blah happened. And I said, I remember looking at him, and I listened to him talking for half an hour at this point of an hour and 15-minute session. And I looked at him, I said, I wonder why your unconscious mind brought that memory up right now. And he starts kind of looking around, and he starts putting his head down, and he closed his eyes and his shoulders went down. I'm like, what the heck did I just do? Like, I didn't mean to. I wasn't like, I just got my one word in half an hour, you know, and his eyes started rolling around and stuff like that. And I'm like, is this guy going into a trance? What the heck is going on? He was out for the next 45 minutes just sitting there. And I didn't say anything. I'm just like, what am I supposed to say right now? I didn't know. So I just let him enjoy his trance. And, you know, the time was coming to an end. And I had another client coming in. And I woke him up. And I said, hey, if you want, can you come back? And, you know, I counted him up, he came back up, and he said, see, I can't be hypnotized. And I said, dude, you've been out for 45 minutes. And he says, no, I haven't. And I said, yeah, check your watch. And he looks down and he goes, oh my gosh. So that was a free session. So this is my favorite part of the story. Free session. So he didn't want to, he's like, I don't know about this. So like, he was all confused and stuff. And I was like, no problem. I said, I didn't even sell him any more sessions or anything. I just said, hey, if you want more sessions, let me know, or I'm happy to talk to you, or whatever it is. I don't ever do any pressure. If people want to work with me, they can work with me. If not, they can go. And then I'm perfectly happy to do what I can for people in an hour. And all of a sudden my Venmo shows up with $150, and he sent me money just for the session, because it was an amazing experience for him. That's what he told me. So just one question. I said, hey, what do you think your unconscious mind is bringing that memory up? And boom, he was out for 45 minutes. It was totally an accident on my part. Like, I didn't know that was going to happen. But it's almost like he resisted so much. He resisted so much that when I finally just kind of knocked on the door, it all just kind of fell down. I think that's kind of what happened to him. Fun story. Yeah. And I think a lot of times those folks, they think that we're gonna try to force them into it. We're gonna use some kind of, we're gonna look at them and look at them in this. And when you take the pressure away, it's like, oh, and they can relax, and then you lead them into their imagination, and they're just gone. Yeah. That's what I let him do. I just kind of let himself talk himself into a trance, and then I'm like, well, okay. I love those kind of moments where I'm like, I didn't really do anything, and he was gone for a long time. It's funny. You facilitated something that was amazing, and I love that the free session. I mean, that's amazing.
go sign up, everybody, in inspiringhypnosis.com. So if you're listening on the podcast, it's inspiringhypnosis.com. You can check the podcast notes. Of course, if you're here on YouTube or other social media, you'll see it there on the screen if you're watching. If you're out there and you're watching, I know we got Scott watching. I can see that we've got a few more people listening live, watching live. Please comment below with your questions. Tell us where you're listening from, if you've been hypnotized before, that kind of stuff. And if you're watching the replay, I will come back and check these comments, and you can still find Joshua in the description. Joshua, so what do you see? What do you see yourself for the next few years and into the future? Is this what you want to keep doing? Where are you going? Where are you headed?
Well, I as I mentioned, I have a lot of people that I see on a regular basis. And so we were kind of talking about this before we got on the air. My goal is to sort of create more of a group setting, because frankly, seeing, as you know, seeing 5 or 6 people a day can be very draining.
So draining. And, yeah, absolutely.
So I've always enjoyed the group work. I've had a group for the last year and a half on Tuesday nights, and I love that group. And so I'm starting to move into more of I kind of have a structure. If it's a business question, I kind of have a structure for my business. I'm training hypnotists, not doing that like generally. I'm training hypnotists that want to help me, so that I can trust them with the people that I send them. So I'm scaling up my hypnosis practice by doing the group thing first, that I'll lead those groups. And the second thing is I'm training hypnotists to lead more groups. And that's kind of where I'm going with this, is I want to do more group work. I think that, I really like helping people help with heal their trauma, especially. That's something that I'm really, really good at with hypnosis. And so that's kind of where I'm going with this. I'd like to kind of have, maybe my dream is about 5 or 10 hypnotists working underneath me, where I set them up with people. I put them in the group. I have a structure that puts people in, and we get fantastic results. I've trained 2 hypnotists so far, and they are both killing it. Just doing fantastic. They're making money. They're helping people. And just within a couple of months, because I teach them how to do the business too. It's part of the deal. And they're just already doing fantastic. And I send my people to them. If I'm overwhelmed and I say, well, I really can't take another person, then I have Sophia and Jen. Those are my 2 people that I've graduated, and they're doing great work. So my goal is to help as many people as I can. And I have a belief that group hypnosis can actually be more effective than one-on-one hypnosis because of the synergy that happens between people. Yeah. I think if you do it right, the group, when the group goes into hypnosis and comes out of hypnosis together, and they have a conversation, that the hypnosis continues in the conversation, that I think that group work is really an important aspect of something we can do really, really well with what we have, with this great gift that we have. That's a really great idea. And like you said, I mean, you can only see so many people in a day, right? And there's a lot of people that need help. And being able to be a kind of because you've done the hypnosis, but you've also got decades of experience in serving people. So you're bringing all that to the table when you're training these other hypnotists to run their own groups. That's right. And so I ran 2 parishes, like I said. I'm very familiar with doing a lot of work in big groups of people. And plus, I was I did motivational speaking as a priest. So I also I spoke in front of tens of thousands of people over the course of my speaking career. So I think that groups are just really great. I'm a huge extrovert, so the more the merrier, I always say. And it's just, when you can affect that change. I had people that called me up after doing motivational speaking 10 years later and said, that one talk, so you can do this on a group level. All I was doing, I didn't know I was using hypnosis at the time or hypnotic techniques, but when I was doing motivational speaking, I was just doing a giant group hypnosis session. People walked out with their lives changed because, when they can see a future that they never saw before, or see something from a different perspective, then all of a sudden things start to resolve. And so that's kind of where I want to go. I love groups of people, and I'm used to standing in front of groups of people and being in front of groups of people. So it's kind of natural for me to do that. And I can affect more people that way too.
That's great. It's funny. I'm actually an introvert, and I still love speaking in front of 10,000 people. I mean, the more, it's funny. People will ask, they will say, how, aren't you afraid to get up and speak in front of 1,000 people? No, I'm afraid to stand up and speak in front of 8 people. It's when I can see the whites of their eyes. That's more uncomfortable. Definitely.
Yeah, I had a trick for that. I had a couple tricks for that. I looked at the top of
yeah?
their head. I wouldn't look at their eyes. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I'd look right here, and I'd look above the whole. I look above the whole seated crowd, right. But it looks like I'm looking at you, but I'm really not.
That's a good tip. That's a good tip.
Because I didn't want to be freaked out. I would be freaked out.
Right. So what is great about this is that you're able to now transfer a lot of what you know to these other hypnotists, and then I'm guessing providing mentorship too when they run into problems, if they need support, that kind of thing.
I have I'm keeping my group small. I'm not training, but I have another group coming. I have another 2 or 3 people coming in the next couple of weeks. I'm not advertising that. I'm handpicking them again. I'm very cautious about who I am training. It's just not a cattle call, which is fine. Cattle calls are fine. It's how I got into Mike Mandel stuff, so it's fine. But I think that if I'm going to send them people and I'm going to put them under my brand and I'm going to put my name on them, I'm going to, on the work that they do, not on them, but on the work that they do, I want to make sure that I want to make sure that they're trained to my satisfaction. And then I have a private Facebook group. There's just 3 of us in there right now, but there'll be about another 4 or 5. I think I've got coming in the next 2 weeks. We're going to do a boot camp style. And so, I'm available to everybody. And it doesn't matter if I'm teaching you hypnosis or you're my hypnosis client. Anybody can text me anytime, and I'm usually there for them.
That's great. Awesome. Yeah. So, and if you're watching right now, those of you that are watching, so we're talking to Joshua Wagner here on Exploring Awesome. He's a former priest. He's also a motivational speaker. He's a hypnotist. He's a trainer, author of 10 books, which I'm going to get into in just a minute because that's an astonishing number, fantastic number. We are going to get his 3 primary tips for living a more awesome life. And then we're going to play friend or frenemy. We're going to find out if Joshua is my friend or my frenemy when we ask him that all-important question, when we lighten things up, because I'm not just a hypnotherapist, I'm a comedy stage hypnotist, so we got to keep a little humor here. I need to find out if he likes pineapple pizza. We're going to find that out.
I sure hope I'm your friend, Jim. I sure hope I'm your friend. I've been worrying about this all day long, and mostly because I need to borrow money. No, I'm just kidding. I don't really borrow money. I
better not be to buy the pizza. Anyway,
I think it'd be a lot easier to get money out of you if you're my friend. Yeah.
Exactly. Keep that in mind.
Yeah.
We've had some people fail the test.
Okay.
That happens. They can remain my friend of me. But 10 books, Joshua, as someone who's co-authored a book and has been working for a year and a half on their first solo book, hoping to get it done someday. Do you have any tips for us that are writing books?
Yeah, so some of a majority of those books were written for my tour guiding business. So every time I did a tour, it was originally called a 7 church tour. Then it went into Catholic church tour because 7 churches was a little ambitious. I would write a new book, a new guidebook for every tour that I put together. So 6 of those books are originally written books about the history. They're basically history books. They're basically guidebooks. I put them all together for I took 400 people a year on those tours. So I really wanted a really good product. I wrote a book on prayer. A lot of my stuff is still Catholic. I wrote a book on prayer called The 4 Pillars of Prayer. I wrote something called Stations of the Cross, which if you're Catholic, you know what that is. And then I wrote a book called A Cure for Heartburn, which is my big book. And that's really interesting because it was actually a blog I wrote when I was first left the priesthood in 2007. And then I just put it into a book, like book form. So that was kind of cool. I wrote a book that nobody will ever see. I went to the coffee shop and wrote a book. I just think that the best thing to do is have a basic outline and then be really flexible inside that outline, and just write until you're done writing that chapter, and then cut out what you don't need. It's far better to write too much and then cut it out. I think you also have to be willing to kill your creation a little bit. You have to be willing to. Yeah. What I mean by that is when you do write something that's too long, you have to be willing to cut some things out that maybe you really like, but it doesn't really serve the story or serve the narrative of the book. So I just think consistency, like whenever I wrote books, I was always consistent. I think that that's a really important thing, is being consistent when you're writing a book. And I think that another thing is this has been my, I've had a lot of great books sell, and just of those, whenever I did motivational speaking, I always had the prayer book and the stations book and the other book for sale. I would also say that write a book for your audience and not for yourself.
That's good.
I wrote a book. As I mentioned, I wrote a book that will never see the light of day, because honestly, at the end of that time that I wrote that book, I wrote the last lines, 80,000 words or something like that. I finished the book, and I edited it, and I even got a cover for it. Cover design, cover art. I even got like a demo copy printed and everything. And I looked at the book and I said, I wrote this for me, not anybody else. So it was one of the best experiences of my life, frankly, was writing that book that nobody will ever see, because I wrote it for myself. That's awesome. But it may or may not sell. So if you want to sell books, write a book to your audience, not to yourself. I think that's a real, temptation to just write a book that you'll like. Write a book that they'll like. And that's where you have to be really critical about yourself. Am I leaving this in for me, or am I leaving this in for them? Is this going to be helpful for them, or is this something that I'm doing some self-therapy by leaving this part in?
I think we could apply that to so many areas, content creation as well. Are we making TikTok videos for ourselves, or for we want to attract, if we're in business, of course, or if we just want more views, even if you're not in business. I know that's a tough one for me. I know my editors, recommending a lot of cuts. It's painful. You're like, oh,
it is painful. You have to be willing. You have to be willing to cut things out. Yeah. I also think that, I think that the first lesson I learned in business in 2007, when I started my first business, when I left the priesthood the first time, was nobody really cares about you. I mean, that's the thing. They don't, as much as Jim, as awesome as you are, as awesome as I am, at the end of the day, everybody cares about what you can do for them.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
You have to write things in mind for what you're doing for people, not what you like or what you're necessarily doing for yourself. Again, if you want to do something for yourself, knock yourself out, but keep your perspective. When I wrote that book at the Caribou Coffee 10 years ago that will never see the light of day, in fact, there's a copy about 12 feet away from me. I knew at the end that I did that for myself, and I was like, okay, that's great, but I couldn't put that book out and nobody would buy it, because I know nobody would buy it, and be like, oh, why aren't they buying it? Because I like that book. You have to do something for them, and that's when they care about you. And I'm not trying to be harsh there. That's how I am too. Yeah. I mean, everybody's like
we all are.
Yeah.
If you go back to, How to Win Friends and Influence People, which is the number one book I recommend to people. He's writing about that, 100 years ago. The Stoics told. Right. It's throughout history we've been told. And it doesn't mean they don't care about you. They care about you, but they don't care about you. You know what I mean? They care, but they don't care. Yeah. It's all about me. Even though we try not to,
and that's fine. That's how we are, man. That's just how people are. There's not a criticism there. It's just how it is.
Yep.
Nothing bad about that.
Nothing bad about it at all. But just keep that in mind when you're creating, when you're an artist. That's if you want people to buy it. Now, although I will say there are some exceptions, because like Steve Jobs said, if I created things that the consumer wanted. I don't remember what he said about it, but I wouldn't have made the Mac, so sometimes if you're an innovator, you're going to do things that people don't even know that they want. So maybe some of your content's about that. I don't know. But
sure.
Any thoughts about that? Yeah. So you can put some stuff in there too. And, I find myself, and this is the other thing too, that I think, it takes discipline. It takes discipline to steer in that direction. And honestly, Joshua, I don't have the discipline to build a big audience on social media, because I know what my niche is. I know the niche that I want, but I'm all over the place. Right. And I don't really, I didn't notice it until I started seeing with other creators. And one of the examples that I was thinking of was, there was a creator on there and he talked about money all the time, investing and that kind of stuff. And then he started talking about keto. And I like keto. I've done keto before, the keto diet. But it was kind of jarring. And I was going, well, why are you talking about this? We sort of compartmentalize people. We don't see them as full rounded individuals. Right. And so we have to keep that in mind too.
I would say, I use the word consistency, and I think that's in this sense a synonym for discipline. I do teach marketing classes every so often. I started before I left the priesthood, and we had a learning center. I started this program for inner city entrepreneurs, and I still teach for it. I just taught a class 2 weeks ago for it. And the thing I told them, I said, it doesn't matter what social media platform you really pick. It doesn't really matter. But the thing is, you got to be consistent with it. And that consistency is why I built my audience on TikTok. And I repost to everything else. I use a service that reposts everything. But honestly, it's that consistency 3 times a day at the same time. The content's very similar. You're right. I'm not talking about, puppy dogs and kittens and then, your trauma in the next video. I'm very, if you look at my channel, it's very consistent. Like, you know what you're going to get with me. And that's, like McDonald's. Like, when you go to McDonald's, you know exactly what you're going to get. Depressed. So, because every single one has kind of got depressing food in it. So
exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So I got to work on my discipline for my topics and my consistency. Joshua, we've come to the part of the show where we really want to know. I mean, you've done so much. You've helped so many people, helped yourself get through a lot of stuff. Could you give us the 3 things that you think would make the most difference? Your 3 tips for living a more awesome life.
So I have a word of the year, and I think I'm just going to use my words of the year. The number one, I started this back in 2018 when I left the priesthood. And as a priest, I was not this. And this is the cornerstone of everything that I do now. And that is authenticity. Like, I was not very authentic as a priest because I said something that I didn't believe. Because of my faith crisis, that wasn't necessarily my fault. I towed the line. I said the things I was supposed to say, but in my heart, it wasn't connecting to where I was spiritually or internally. And that inauthenticity ripped me apart. Aristotle says, I have a philosophy degree, so I'm going to quote Aristotle because I paid a lot of money for that degree, and so I really want to use it.
To be able to quote him.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Aristotle says if you destroy the unity of a thing, you destroy the thing, which makes total sense. If you cut a car in half, it's no longer good as a car. Unity is what he calls a transcendental quality. So it's unity, truth, beauty, and existence. Those are your 4 transcendentals. So all those things are equal to each other. If you destroy unity, you destroy truth and beauty in existence. So I had to learn what authenticity really was. And I know that we know what the word is, but I think that there's a difference between knowing and really understanding. And I really had to come to an understanding of what authenticity was. And that's where I have to begin now. Is if I'm not speaking correctly or truthfully, if I'm saying things I think people want to hear because I think I want them to like me or something, it never works out in the end for me. So to a lesser extent, we have a word in hypnosis, congruence. I think congruence is just a in the moment authenticity. I think authenticity is more of a disposition or a sort of a view of life. Whereas I think congruence is what happens in the moment. Am I being congruent in what I'm saying? I think that they're the same. It's different in degree and not kind. One's a moment and the other's kind of more of an outlook on life. I think the next thing is patience. Is things always take a little bit longer than you think they're going to take.
True.
And patience comes from the Latin word suffering.
Does it?
Patior. Yeah, it comes from the Latin word patior.
That makes sense.
Yeah, there's my classics degree. I'm going to use all my degrees here.
Right.
Not because I never use any of them, but so patior is the word to suffer, is suffering in Latin. So if you have to be willing to suffer for the things that you love. And I think underneath that are things like discipline. I don't know who she was, but I saw this thing that said that discipline was better than motivation.
Oh yeah,
and I love that idea. Like I love that. And underneath the idea of patience, of suffering for something, is being disciplined, is being consistent, even when you're not motivated. I just think that underneath patience is an umbrella term for kind of all of those sort of things. And I'll say that the last thing is, honestly, this has been a word that has been really helpful to me. So again, underneath, I kind of snuck a bunch in there underneath patience. Underneath patience is consistency, discipline, focus, all those kind of things are underneath the word patience. So I stuck them all in on you, Jim. And the last one that I would say is boldness. Boldness is something that I think is far. I think there's courage. I'm reading a book called Courage is Calling by Ryan Holiday, who's a Stoic author. Awesome.
Oh, love Ryan. Love his work.
Yeah, he's awesome.
I'm big fan of the Stoics. Yeah.
everything that guy does is just golden. You should, if you,
Yeah.
he's too big. He's so big. If you could ever get him on your show, but I'm sure he's on every podcast that he can get on.
Right.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
just so, but if you ever get a chance to get him on your show, he's awesome. But like, I think the difference between courage, which is a virtue that, the Stoics pushed, and boldness is this. Courage is seeing what could go wrong and doing it anyway.
That's nice. That's really good.
Boldness is seeing what can go right and being compelled because of that.
Ooh, that's a much better spin.
The difference. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if I got that from somebody. I don't know if I picked it up on a TikTok or a fortune cookie, or I came up with myself.
Right.
But I love the idea of boldness. And the shift is, do I see what's wrong and have to fight through the fear, or do I see what can be? And that's what compels me. Like the vision. There's a vision in boldness. There's an achievement. There's an abundance in boldness. So I think that boldness is really another word that sort of has really been important to me over the last, especially I think a year and a half, that I've kind of come up with that. I'll tell you a story. I have a girl, I'm out of the priesthood and stuff. I have a girlfriend. Right. Before I had a girlfriend, I wanted to meet girls. I didn't like celibacy. It was one of the things I didn't like about the priesthood. Honestly, if a guy can do it, it's great. A lot of celibate people out there are very happy. I was not one of them. And so I remember seeing this girl in Kroger many years ago. And I thought to myself, I was afraid. I was like, oh, she's going to shoot me down. It's going to be terrible. She's going to call the police on me, whatever it might be. Right. And I thought to myself, no, this is before I learned all this stuff. It's just a good story that kind of reminds me of this. I thought, or I could meet her and we could fall in love. And then this is the girl that I marry. And I met her in the Kroger thing. Right. And I went up to her and I was like, that's boldness to me, is seeing all the great things that can happen, not getting in that negative bias and seeing all the possibilities. And that's what moves you forward. And I walked up to her and I said, hey, my name is Josh and you have beautiful hair and I just wanted to meet you. And she's like, after the pepper spray wore off, I was fine. It only took about 5 or 10 minutes for me to stop crying and get off the phone. Now, that's not what happened. She was very polite. It didn't work out. I didn't marry her, but I walked out of that Kroger and I felt so good that day. I just felt so good. Because I would rather fail big than be so afraid that I never tried. Because what if it did work out? What if that was the person I was supposed to meet? And I would never have known that, either way. Now I know she wasn't the one that I was supposed to meet, but I'm so glad that I did that. And I walked out, I called my friends and I just got shot down by the most beautiful girl in the whole world. Right. And I'm so glad that I did that. And that's boldness for me. It's even though it didn't work out quite the way that I wanted it to, having that vision of what could go right and compelling you forward, man, that is a game changer for me. And I can see, and it's not just wishful thinking. It's really what can go right if I actually take the risk. Yeah. What can go right if I actually take the risk?
Absolutely. And I mean, how many of us have that regret of the, and I mean, we'll just use this as a metaphor, but the girl we didn't ask out, right?
Right.
You remember this one because it was such a transformational experience for you. But I mean, I've been shot down many times, and I honestly, I probably couldn't think of a single one of them.
Right.
So I mean, it doesn't. It's but it's like, when people are afraid to put out videos. This was a lot of times when I'm working with hypnosis with students.
Right.
I don't. What if people? We get we get negative comments. We do. It happens. But one of the things to remember is that all comments are engagement. And so all comments are good because it's just helping you to be seen by more people. So don't worry about it.
And I will say this too. I'm going to sneak another one in. I think embracing failure on the other side of that, embracing failure has been a big game changer for me. I love failing. I had a terrible failure over the summer, and it was one of the best things for my hypnosis business was this failure. It actually exponentially increased my business when I had this colossal failure. I was doing this webinar thing and all these problems, and I had 200 people signed up, and the whole thing was just a crap show. It was terrible. And that thing spawned a whole new idea, was that failure. And I love failing. I love rejection. I know that sounds really weird, but I love being bold and going for it and still getting rejected because now I have more knowledge. I love that. It's a game changer for me as well.
Yeah. And here's the thing, if you're not getting rejected, if you're not failing, you're not trying hard enough. You're not being bold enough. Really.
Right.
You're living a safe life. And that's fine.
That's
If that's your thing, you want to live a safe life, that's great. Good for you. I don't want to live a safe life. I would rather be open to those wonderful things that we get when we are bold.
Well, and there's a great Stoic saying. It's like, I never get it right, but it's something like, you do everything you can to play it safely until death.
Yeah.
Right. That's the thing, man. That's the great equalizer is you're going to die someday. Do you want to die looking back saying, well, I got here safely? Or do you want to look back and say, I'm glad I asked the girl out at Kroger?
Exactly. Yep.
I didn't need that finger anyway. Whatever it is at the end of your life.
Right. Right. Yeah. There's another saying, something like we regret more the things that we didn't do than the things we did do. So
right.
Please people, I urge you, I beg you, please go be bold, try those big things. And it doesn't mean that you've got to be, try to be the next Anthony Robbins or something like that, but it could just be that you want to start your own charity, or you want to donate more time in your community, or it could be anything at all. Write a book. I mean, so many things. This is Michael Brody. He says, fantastic stage hypnotist out in the Midwest. You never know unless you try. So very true. Absolutely. If you want to find out more about Joshua, I'm looking at the comments. Sorry, whatever his name is. Go find him. It's inspiringhypnosis.com. You can also find him on TikTok. You're going to get lots of short content, really life transformational thoughts. And you'll find him there at Inspiring Hypnosis. What a great name, Joshua, by the way. Good name.
Yeah, it's a little hard to spell. I probably would, if I had to do it again, I might do something a little shorter. But that's good. It's a good brand, and it looks good on my shirt.
Exactly. Done.
Yeah. And so you can also just Google my name, Joshua Wagner Hypnotist, and you'll find all my. I'm on every social media platform. All of my social media starts with TikTok and shoots out to all the other places.
Yeah. But that is a great point. For the entrepreneurs out there, like I have a text back service, and I used to tell people to text the word hypnosis to get their free thing. And there's a lot of people that do not know how to spell hypnosis.
Yeah.
So it's a lot better to put some easy word that everybody can spell. Even when you're coming up with your business name, I have a friend who. It's really clever. It's Connie. I can her last name escapes me right now, but she even told me at conference, she was like, it's a clever name, but it's terrible because nobody knows how to find me because it's got letters in it and it's got numbers in it, and very confusing. So
I've always been pretty good at branding. This is, like I said, I would do a little bit less hard to spell, but when I was creating a business, I had 1,000 ideas. Even I had Mind Plumber. That was one I was going to do. Mind Plumber.
That's nice.
Yeah, Mind Plumber. I kind of liked it. My girlfriend hated it. Yeah, my girlfriend hated it, but I thought it was good. But I had really good brands. CatholicChurchTour.com, FatherWagner.com. I had a bunch of other ones. Catholic online, Catholic Retreat. Oh, God, I can't even say it. I had CatholicRetreatonline.com. So it was all stuff that like, it was pretty, like, it told you what it was. And I just think that the simpler you can make it for people, the better. But Inspiring Hypnosis isn't bad. It's nice to hear. It's nice to say. I think it looks good on a shirt. I think the website looks good, but it is very hard to spell. And I would probably do something a little different if I had to reboot. But this is where I am. And so we're just going to stick here for now.
Absolutely. Hey, people eventually learned how to spell. Well, no, they probably didn't, but they could find Schwarzenegger. So
that's right.
Inspiring.
That's right. When I had FatherWagner.com, it was funny because I had to buy all the spellings because people couldn't get Wagner right.
I know what you mean. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It makes sense.
You got that sneaky N in your name. So,
believe me, sure. I know. I've got several different versions of my stuff out there too. Because I have a terrible last name for spelling. Which is one of the reasons I started with the damn I'm pretty, because I thought it'd be easier for people. So I just want to put this in the comments real quick. I forgot to put this in earlier. If you are a hypnotist out there, I know we get quite a few hypnotists watching. I would love for you to go check out the website for the brand new Pacific Northwest Hypnosis Conference. And you'll find that at pnyhypnosis.com. pnwhypnosis.com. Speaking of not a great website name, pnwhypnosisconference.com. It's going to be right here in Seattle, Tacoma area, but we're welcoming people from all over the world. We want to see you there. I'm working on that with Anthony Gitch. Do you go to a lot of conferences, Joshua?
I went to HypnoThoughts this summer.
HypnoThoughts. Yep.
So yeah, that was fun.
So
you were there, right? Yeah, we were there. You were there, right?
I was. Yeah.
That's where we met each other.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I think I started following you on TikTok, or pretty sure I met you at. I think Victoria Gallagher introduced us. Yeah, she had met you.
I'm going to go to more. I love conferences, so I'm going to go to more.
I avoided them for about the first 7 years of my career because I just thought they would be lame. Because I'd performed at a lot of conferences that were lame. But
right.
But it's different, when you're going to the sales conference thing for some company or something, or if you're actually going at a hypnosis conference. Transformational experience, believe me, folks. But that's another point. We need to get to the most important thing here, Joshua, because the reason that people tune into this show really, truly is to find out if you're going to be their friend or frenemy also, not just mine. So with that, Joshua, can you please tell me and my interested audience, do you like pineapple pizza?
Well, it's complicated, Jim. And for the next 45 minutes,
I don't like where this is going. I don't like where this is going. I don't like this.
It's complicated. So I lived in Italy for 4 years, and I think that absolutely, fundamentally, pineapple does not belong on pizza.
Exactly.
Although I've had
a former priest.
I don't know, man. I had it once, and I was like, this isn't so bad. So I don't know. I did have severe head trauma at the time, so maybe that's what it was. Yeah.
He was young. He was experimenting.
I was young. I didn't know what I was doing. I think philosophically, though, I do not think it belongs on pizza. No.
I will take that. He's got a philosophy degree. Philosophically, Joshua Wagner says.
I spent 4 years in Italy. I've eaten a lot of pizza. Let me say that. So
right. Did you ever once? This is very important. Did you ever once witness the Pope eating pineapple pizza?
Not once.
Not once. Not a single time, folks. You heard it here first.
Not once. And it was really, really hard to sneak up and look in his window when he was eating dinner.
Yes.
Because it is really high up.
He had dinner with the Pope probably many, many times. Too many to count, really.
I did meet John Paul II. And then one time I was at a papal mass, and I had my collar on, and I walked in with an Indian bishop. So this Indian bishop and his entourage was there. And here I am, like 6'3", and walking in with a bunch of Indians. I looked nothing like the rest of them. And I used my student ID, and I got within about 20 feet of the Pope. So I did kind of sneak very closely to the Pope. And the Swiss guard said no. And then he has those pointy sticks, and I turned the other way.
No. Step back, sir.
Yeah.
Step back.
Yeah.
Joshua, it has been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much. We're going to get out of here now. I think, yes. Joshua, thank you for being here. Everyone appreciated your 3 tips. I want to just remind everybody, look, it's hard to make change for a lot of people. So if you just picked one of these things to focus on this week, that would be awesome. Pick another one next time. Authenticity, patience, which actually included about 7 other words as well. He snuck those in. And I got to tell you, my favorite probably boldness. Just be bold, people. Be bold. You really, honest to, you're just not going to get anywhere in life if you're not bold. You're just not. Take care. Be well.
Thanks, Jim. Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.